How do we turn local action into national leverage? I think that's the question that almost everybody is asking right now because everybody sees that the time is right. The collective conscious is boiling. We all want something to do and we want a way to push back. But it often feels like that what we're doing is in vain, right? Because even though we all want to push back, we don't know if that is working towards a larger goal. And that's where we have to understand that our economic situation, the fact that the majority of Americans don't have enough savings, the fact that the majority of Americans can't push back is part of what keeps us here politically. Because we need to be able to strike, we need to be able to boycott. But unless we have alternative options to boycott with, then that boycott's not going to be effective. And unless the majority of Americans have economic freedom in order to be able to strike, then that tactic isn't going to be effective either. And those are the two strongest actions we can take. Because what's happened is they've completely gotten rid of the economy. There's no free market, so we can't vote with our dollar. And that is huge. Because we can't vote with our dollar, we do not have enough economic ability to refuse, to say no. And because we are not in a position where we can say no, they take advantage of us. So we need to build up our resources so that collectively we can say no. And that's what's so amazing about what we're seeing in Minnesota and all the different actions that people are taking coming up for this general strike. But we need to be asking, how can we make it last a month? And the way that happens is all of us staying connected. So we have a document that is put together where no matter where you are at, you can join. You say, all right, we've got our local groups formed. That's what we're doing in our Discord. So go ahead and check it out in the Discord. We've got the local groups that we are breaking out into, because that's the first thing we need to break out by state. Because it's forming local groups that will actually build the national leverage. Because it's a feedback loop. These mass actions, they allow people to connect more. The more people that are able to connect, the more local groups that form. Those local groups can then take action in their region, in their area, to reduce our dependence on corporations. They can choose to either push back now, something that'll happen in the next 1 to 3 months, or something to build longer, 3 to 12 months. And what's amazing about it is it's a feedback loop. The long-term actions feed short-term goals, and the short-term actions go ahead and recruit new people and bring more people into long-term action. So we have to understand first that we are not pushing back just against the political system. We have to push back against the economic system. And in order to push back against the economic system, that requires us to have freedom of choice, which we do not have now. And it also requires us to have economic freedom, the ability to strike. But that's the problem. Javier said he's boycotting as much as they can now. But that's the issue, right? We can only boycott so much. We're all boycotting as much as we can. And they are still making so much off of us. Because they figured out, oh, if we control what they need to live, that is how they can keep raking in the profits. Because what are we going to do? Not buy food? So they made sure they controlled all the access to the food so they could raise prices on it. And what are you going to do? Not get health care? So they made sure to control access to all health care so that they could raise the prices on it. But they make us feel so confused about this, right? They lie to us so much about what is going on. So community gardens would fit under immediate action, community building, building new systems. So we've got that. We've got people that are building those. And what you do is you break out into state. You either join a community garden group or you start one in your area, and then other people will be filtered into you as well. So these local actions, then turn into national impact. Because then what you can do is you can share your tactics. You can meet with other people that have already started community gardens. So you're then able to talk with them and get the ideas and get the strategies and everything that we need to drop out and say, hey, the strongest thing that we can do here is say, screw this. We are not participating anymore. That is what a strike and a boycott allows us to do. But we are not in the economic situation that we need to be in to boycott or strike. So if we can't boycott or strike, we need to build the mechanisms that allow us to. So boycotting just means we need more local alternatives. More local alternatives means that we first need to map out, what do we have? Even in our small town in Texas, what do we have, right? We map it out. And then the gaps that we see, oh, look, there's not a lot of local food. Oh, or there is local food. There's just not a lot of local healthcare. Well, rather than going through the corporations, rather than allowing the middlemen to control access for us, what if we went around the corporations instead? Because it's people in our community that are creating these goods and services. Corporations have just stuck themselves in between as middlemen because they know that if they control access to the things we need to live, their profits will always go up. And that's the issue. And I really think the problem is that they divide us on all these different levels, right? Left versus right. Now it's up versus down. But then if we agree on either of those, if we say, all right, let's throw left versus right to the side, then what do we start arguing about? The name of the economic system we want to implement. Oh, we should do this, or no, we should do that, or this one sucks, or this one's good. Why not just build something that works for us instead of against us? Don't we see that the language that they use, the words that we use have been weaponized against us because they have made the words of progress dastardly and evil and mean something bad? So you don't say the same old things because they've literally made unions into something that people don't like. Employees negotiating together for a higher salary. Somehow the people in charge have made us not like that. So we need to be really mindful of the language that we use because our language has been co-opted. I mean, look at the word woke, right? That used to mean like, oh, you see the structural systems that are in place to keep people down. Big deal, right? Well, we are building what we need to keep going. That's really what it is. Because what we're building is basically a new system. Because this system isn't going to get fixed by us asking for change. It's going to get fixed by us building something better, and people are just going to leave the old system. And that's the issue. Is we're not doing anything besides building what works for people, because we believe that is what is going to get people to understand that, hey, you know, and we really got to think of it as cars versus horses. The current system is a horse. It's not working for us. And we keep talking about a car. But a lot of people can't even understand the leap from a horse to a car because all they've ever known is horses. All they've ever known is this system that works against them. Imagine somebody that was born into a shack, but that shack is all they've ever known. And they spent the first 30 years of their life in their shack. They know nothing else. All they've seen are a bunch of shacks, right? So when you try to get them, hey, leave your little shack. I got a big house for you down the road. What will they say? No. Not because the house down the road isn't nicer, isn't better, doesn't fit their needs more. What's up, Bama? Good to see you. It's just that they've only ever known the shack that they are in. Disky, I'm talking to you. Because when you say, hey, resist capitalism, you're telling people that shack that you lived in your whole life, it's wrong. And just a lot of people aren't going to be on that level yet. So just the language that you're using is going to turn a lot of people off. Because you're telling them, hey, that shack that you grew up in, that shack that you lived in your whole life, where you were born, where you had your first kiss, where, you know, all these things. What's up, Chad? Well, that's, you know, I got something better for you down the road. But until you show them that, we don't have a way to move forward. So that's where we need to understand that all of us doing small things, because even spreading the word, I love what you're doing, just because what you were doing, that language will get to a certain group of people. It's just, it's smaller. You know, we're kind of saying the same thing. There you go. Things like that. We're saying the same thing rather than this system is wrong. Like, how about corporations don't care about you, but dang, we buy all of our food from corporations. That doesn't make sense. We're forming a local food buying group to buy our food from the farmer. And no, we can't offer all the options that a grocery store does, but we can start with eggs. And we can start getting 20, 30 people together, and we go buy 30 dozen eggs a week from the local farmer. And it shows people that, hey, this system that we're in now, it doesn't have to be that way. Because all of us heard these whispers of the system before, right? I'm an 80s baby. So I remember hearing, like, in the late 90s, man, things didn't used to be this way. There used to be small stores that cared about us. I wish I could go to the local general store again. I wish I could go to the local grocery store again. Well, Kilang, and that's exactly what we're doing. That's what we're building in our Discord. I just made a post actually about the feedback loop that we're creating between mass actions, getting people together. Well, those mass actions, they are not the point, right? Those mass actions have to be for recruiting purposes. We bring more people in. But not only that, Fish Stack, you still get your health insurance from corporations. You still pay your mortgage or your rent to a corporation. And it's not about whether those small options, local options are available. It's whether are they more efficient and convenient than the corporate option, because that's how they get us, right? So what we need to show people is that, hey, they might have us on efficiency, but we can do good with convenience. And you know what we'll bring is that we will care about you. That's the thing. And that's why you feel lucky, because you have people that are serving you for the things that you need, and they care about you. And that's the